My whole saying has always been, if I'm not going to live and be happy, I might as well be in the grave right next to him, because life is for the living and I'm still alive. And I think that in my heart, he would want me to be happy.
Welcome, everybody. It's Blake Haynes, the Multimedia Specialist with concerns of police survivors. Joining me on this episode, I've got April Nauden, the surviving spouse of Chicago Police Department Officer Paul Nauden, EOW 5/20/2011. Paul fell on the line of duty, succumbing to heart attack symptoms that he had responding to a call. April, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well today. I'm doing good. Can't complain.
Well, April, let's just kind of jump into, before we kind of get to our topic, everybody, we're going to be jumping into learning to love again is going to be our topic. But before we even get into that part of your life and where you're at now, let's kind of take it back to that day. So May 20th, 2011, go ahead and kind of take us through that day.
Okay. So that day I was actually at work, and I have two daughters, and at the time they were 2 and 4 years old. And at that time, my daughters were in preschool and daycare, and I was at work, and Paul was at work, of course. And we communicate throughout the day, like if he needs to work late because he's undercover. So he communicated that he had to work late, but then I got a call at work that he wasn't feeling well and that I needed to get to the hospital. So I left and went to the hospital and everything. But he had a massive heart attack while undercover trying to do a drug buy, and was able to remove himself without blowing his cover. And they rushed him to the hospital, and he went into cardiac arrest and never really recovered. And the next day we had to take him off life support. At that time, I think I was in shock and just, I didn't really know anything, just moving blindly.
Like from there, I mean, that's a lot to take in. I mean, you're processing that with your family now. Your two young girls. Where does that lead you from there? Like, what does that week look like? What's that month? Just kind of, tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. My mother, she moved in with me and my girls for like 6 months and helped me out. I put the girls back into school. The girls, it was kind of hard telling them that daddy was gone and just trying to explain to him that he got sick and he was now in heaven. And I found myself trying to buy little books to help them to understand. And it was really hard because I was grieving and my two daughters were grieving, but their griefs were different. So I was dealing with 3 different griefs. My oldest one, she used to really get to me because she used to lash out, and she used to be like talking to his picture when she get upset with me. Daddy, why you leave? Daddy, come back. And that would just really throw me. So that month was really hard, but I tried to keep the kids as normal as possible. While they were in preschool, most of the times I was at home just, taking long walks, thinking and praying and just going through my grief. And it was just really hard. I wasn't able to eat, I really wouldn't go out the house. People would try to get me to go out to eat, go to, a spa, do anything to get me to go out. But I just wasn't feeling like going out. I think I leaned on one of my good girlfriends at the time, and we went, we would go shopping. And just a lot of things go through your head. I'm in there and I'm looking at clothes and I'm like, what's the point? I'm looking at clothes. Who do I have to dress up for now? My husband's gone. Why do I want to look nice? So just different things. So it was just really, really hard. And it's a process. It's a process that you have to go through. I did have a couple people from Illinois that reached out, another spouse that reached out to me that had kids that were a little bit older, but similar situation. that kind of helped, being able to talk to someone that kind of understood where I was. But it's basically a process. You just have to go through it, you know.
What are maybe some of the things that you particularly did for your grief, like to get you through that process?
I read a lot of self-help books. I read a lot of books on widows and the different stages that you go through. And I think that was one of the major things that helped me get through it. I prayed a lot, you know, in asking God why, but not really understanding why I had to go through this. But I prayed. And my prayer through the whole time was just because I didn't know what, ultimately, I really didn't know what to pray for. So I just prayed for strength. I would just ask God for strength every day. Just please give me strength. Just give me strength, because I didn't know what else to pray for, because I was just totally lost at that time. So I did a lot of reading. I did a lot of praying. I tried to go to the spa when I could or whatever. And it was hard because at the time, your regular family and friends don't really understand. And then the close family and friends, even they don't understand, you know, and even my mom doesn't understand. Nobody understands unless it's someone that has absolutely been through what you're going through. And that's the hard part. Like I said, I talked to one of the C.O.P.S spouses, and that really helped me. And I think a lot of my journey also began like when I started going to police week. So I made it a habit of going to police week all the time. That was one of my things. And I remember the first year I went to police week, I stood down in the main lobby just crying, just crying. One of the other members' spouses came up to me and was talking to me, and they were all encouraging me, and then especially the people from Illinois, they were all encouraging me to go to the sessions. And I'm like, I don't want to go to those sessions. But ultimately, I ended up going to those sessions, and that really helped. And then I think Police Week became like my thing to go to. So then the next thing was people were trying to encourage me to go to kids camp. But I didn't want to go to kids camp because when my kids got old enough, because I didn't want to leave my youngest daughter, and I had anxiety. So I didn't go. So I actually went to spouses first, and I found that to be very helpful, and the sessions and stuff. And then I went to kids camp. Those are the things that have kind of helped me, and the mentors within C.O.P.S. I've developed a lot of relationships with the mentors, which help because I also reach out to them outside of the programs when I need to. Down the line, I got counseling here one while. And I forgot at the very beginning when Paul died, before I did any of the cop stuff, I did go to the EPA counseling with the police department, and I did that for a while. And it was kind of, I think it was kind of helpful. I remember the counselor, I would go in there and he would like, you know, so how are you doing? And I'm like, I'm doing okay. And I'm like, oh, I forgot I'm supposed to be talking. I'm supposed to be really talking, like not okay, because you get used to telling people that you're okay. So I think doing that, and the counselor would always ask me like, what have you done for you? Because I would say everything that I'm doing for my kids. And I think early on, I did a lot of activities with my kids. Like I put them in dance and gymnastics and, you know, all different types of sports. So I stayed busy with them. Those are the type of things that helped me through. I think that's gotten me where I am today.
Before we jump into where you are today, how important is it to self-identify some of those things? So you're understanding, hey, there's a period of time where you sought out and got some outside assistance, just not just through the C.O.P.S programs, but made those relationships and those contacts. How important is that to you?
That's very, very important that you have some type of support group. It's very important. because you need, I don't know how to explain it. You need that support. You need to be able to find somewhere, somehow, somebody that understands you, because you're going to go through a lot of different feelings. One day you feel this way, the next day you feel that way. I mean, I forgot, a lot of stuff just popped back into my head. A lot of things at the beginning of my grief, the reason it was so very hard to go outside the house was because everything reminded me of Paul. You know, going to the store, going into Home Depot, because he loved Home Depot. So going into Home Depot, tears would just start crying. And then you're embarrassed because wherever you go, because there are triggers and you can't control the triggers. You have to learn how to just be able to accept them and deal with them. I could be driving along and anything could happen. A song come on the radio. I see something outside the window that reminds me of him or something, you know, in our life. And so it's just all these different triggers and stuff. And then I think one of the big things was, at first I didn't want to be a widow. Who wants to be called a widow? I'm too young for that. Just learning to accept different things, it takes time, and it takes you, like I said, going through everything. A lot of people want to just like maybe shut the door and not deal with things. I think my kids kept me going. My two kids, while it was really hard having them both and dealing with two different griefs, they are what made me get up each morning. Because if I could have, I probably would have stayed in the bed, pulled the covers over my head, and just, you know, just been crying all day. And having to get up because I have two kids to take care of and they are depending on me, that pushed me a lot as well. You need lots of support, and you have to find support where you can find it. And you find out, being a widow, that a lot of times people judge you on what you're doing, how you're doing it, when you're doing it, and a lot of people have different ideas of how you should be living your life, and it's really hard. You know, you feel alone a lot of times. It's hard. At the beginning, I didn't sleep. I didn't sleep for nights. You know, I would be up at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and then up at 6, 7 o'clock, you know, with the kids. And it's just really, really hard, you know, learning how to live again. I try to describe to people because people sometimes don't understand. So when you lose a mate or spouse or significant other, it's kind of like being cut off, like part of your body being chopped off. The half of you is like gone. How do I live again? How do I heal again? You know, and it's really, really hard. And I have another significant other. So she wasn't married, she was engaged, and her fiance got killed 6 months after Paul did. Her and I were able to support one another. And I remember her and I, like, we would be on the phone crying. Both of us just would be crying and like, oh, it was just, how are we going to get through this? And, you know, we would just be feeling the same things. And she always tell me to this day that I helped her. And I'm like, girl, how did I help you? I was like, because I was only 6 months out from you. I was only 6 months ahead. So I don't even know how I could possibly. And she was like, well, we helped each other because we cried on the phone. We laughed on the phone. We went through things at the same time. So having her, and we're still very close to this day, you know, was really, really major part of my grief and learning how, you know, to live again.
You're recently engaged.
Yes.
So tell me about that. So you've learned to live again, and
Mhm.
you've met now Charlie, and you've
Yes.
got this new blossoming relationship. So kind of talk to me about that. Kind of
Okay.
walk me through, how did you meet him, and how
Okay.
did you end up putting the rock on your finger?
Right. So Charlie and I are actually college sweethearts. I knew him when I was 18 years old, and we dated most of our college time. We dated, and didn't work out, and we went on our own way and things. I guess we have mutual friends because we went to college. So he reached out to me after he heard about Paul, just as a concerned friend or whatever. And we just talked. That was it. And he may call me every now and then to check up on me, but that was it. I didn't know at the time that he had recently been divorced. So I think he was probably going through his own thing at that time. We had friends, mutual friends, that thought that maybe, I guess, we should go out again. So we went out with a group outing with friends. Things kind of sparked from there. We just kind of talked. We started, hanging out. It was weird at first. Initially, when Paul died, and I think most widows or significant other, you're like, I don't want to date again, because that's what I did. I did say that. I when Paul died, I was like, I don't want to ever go out on another date. I don't ever see myself getting married. I don't want to be with another person. I just want to be by myself, because at that time, all I desired was my husband, and I was grieving very hard. And I think later in life, it had been a few years, maybe I think 2.5 to 3 years, I was like wanting some type of companionship. Your spouse died, but you don't die. Ultimately, I still have desires. And had I not had desires to have a companionship, then I would have never been married in the first place. And I think that you think that because that person died, that those desires go away, and they don't, because later I'm lonely. I don't want to come home to an empty house. I want someone to talk to laugh with, to go out, to enjoy life with, and enjoy things with. And it's just hard, because you're like, some people feel like, I can never love anybody more than my husband. But what I really found out is that it's not really loving somebody more than your deceased husband. It's just learning how to love again. And I think at the beginning, it was like, oh my God, I'm falling in love with him. How can I love him, but I still love my husband that's not here? That love never goes away. It doesn't matter. To the day I die, that love never goes away. I love Charlie. I'm in love with him, but I don't love him. I don't love him any more than my deceased husband, but I don't love him any less than my deceased husband, if that makes sense. I love him for him. I love Paul for Paul. And Paul is not here, but I still love him, and I still think about him, and I still miss him, and I always will. But if I don't learn how to live, if I'm not going to live and be happy, I might as well be in the grave right next to him, because life is for the living, and I'm still alive. And I think that in my heart, he would want me to be happy. And I think that if it was vice versa, I think that he would be with someone too. I wouldn't want him sitting around and crying and being lonely by himself. That's just selfish. And so some people just think that they can't love somebody else more than they love their husband. But once you just accept another person for themselves, and that you love them in the way you love them, and you love your husband in the way that you love him, then you're okay. You're like, it's okay. And I think Chuck, I call him Chuck, we dated, it's probably been about, I'm going to say about it's more than 5. It's probably been more about 7 years. Because I think we both had to go through our own process of our lives, in working through whatever we needed to work through. Because I'll be honest, getting with a widow, and especially a police widow, is different. It's not easy. You need to be a very secure person, and it needs to be a lot of understanding. I don't think either one of us were in the rush. There are people that may get married right away or get into a relationship. Everybody is different, and it's okay. And there are people who wait a long time or who never do it. But I think we weren't in the rush to do anything. We wanted to make sure that this is right for us and our family. So we've dated a long time. We've gone through a lot of different things, because it's a regular relationship, and you go through your ups and downs. I always tell people that my marriage to Paul wasn't perfect either. It's a relationship. We went through our ups and downs in our marriage, but it's about, you sticking through things and working through things, and if you really love each other. And I think that Charlie and I, we've grown together. He's been here and he's supported me, and I've been with him through anything that he, needs in his life. And we just kind of dated a long time. But I think in the last couple years, we realized that our relationship was in a different space. Like we need to move forward with certain things, and so we actually moved in first. We got our home together first, and then recently we got engaged. So he's really the only person that I dated. I was blessed because things kind of, worked out with us. I haven't had to be out in the dating world, but it doesn't mean that we didn't go through different things in our relationship. I I love him very much, and I know he loves me, and you know, he's very supportive to me, and I think that's the most important part of things with our relationship.
That realization of this is acceptable. This is
Mhm.
okay. I I'm allowed. April Nauden is allowed to be happy. When did that
Yeah.
click with you?
That clicked, believe it or not, it took a long time. That clicked probably not until 5 years after Paul's death. At the fifth end of watch, I think that's when it clicked, because I'm 11 years out now. I had talked to other people and they were like, yeah, they was like somewhere between 3 to 5 years is when I think it most clicks for a lot of people. Like I always say, it's a process. So like 5 years in, I realized that it's okay. It's okay for me to love again. It's okay for me to, live my life and do the things that I want to do. It takes a long time, and it takes you working through your grief. Like you have to put in the work with your grief. And putting in the work means that you allow yourself to feel certain things, and that you embrace those moments that you have. And like I said, counseling and reading, a lot of reading and counseling really helped me to get to that point. But it took basically 5 years for me to say, okay, I'm gonna be okay. I can do this. Like it's okay for me to live again. It's okay for me to be happy, because initially, and most people will tell you, initially when you get into a relationship, you feel like you're cheating. You feel like you're still married. I didn't take my ring off for maybe three years or so, and I think when Charlie and I started dating, I was still wearing my wedding ring. I mean, yeah, I think I wore the engagement ring or something. I was wearing something. I was still wearing my rings, because that was what made me feel close to him, and I didn't want to take them off. But he didn't pressure me to take them off or anything. I kind of took them off down the line, maybe 3, 4 years in, somewhere close to that, because I felt comfortable then. It just takes a process of you getting to the point where you feel okay. I didn't like being called a widow. Like I said, that was one of the things I had to learn, to be like, okay, it's okay to be a widow. And I think I learned that being a widow doesn't define me. But I think ultimately, because I wanted to be a wife, and that was hard too in my relationship, because I was now a girlfriend. And to go from a wife to a girlfriend, that's just like really like weird. Like, I've been a wife for a long time. Like, being a girlfriend, I was like, what is that? I didn't like being called that. Sometimes it's hard in the relationship because I am a girlfriend. I don't get, sometimes you don't get the same things that a wife would get. My expectations on certain things are kind of high because I'm used to being the wife. And, the wife, everything goes through the wife. And when you're a girlfriend, you're together, but you're still separate. That was kind of hard. And then, like I said, I learned to accept the widow thing, and I don't mind now. Like, okay, I'm a widow. I'll tell anybody, yeah, I'm a widow. But that being a widow does not define me. It's not who I am. I will always be Paul's widow, but that just doesn't define the person that I am. That's one thing that you have to learn to go through probably before you really get into a relationship. You have to learn who you are again. And that's why it's a process that you have to work through, because you're still trying to figure out, who am I? Like, I've always been Paul's wife.
You have two daughters,
Correct.
right? Both amazing, amazing individuals. I've had the honor of meeting both of them. Tell me what it was like saying, hey, mom's going to start dating again. It's progressing with Charlie. We're getting into this, to a serious relationship. And then now, where are they at today? So it's just kind of take me on that timeline.
They were still very young. So a lot of times we invited him over to our house initially and just said that, mommy had a friend. This is a friend from, we used to go to school together, and he would come over and he would try to friend the girls or whatever. My youngest one, Alana, she really didn't, at first she wouldn't even talk to him, but April was a little older. And so he would tell me if I left the room, to go do something, he would she would grill me. Like, do you like my mommy? Like, are you going out with my mommy? Do you love her? And then sometimes we would go out to, maybe get something to eat, and we're at the counter ordering food, and she would just yell out, "Are you going to marry my mommy?" or whatever. And it was just like, oh my God, this is so embarrassing. And it was just really weird. But then Alana, she kind of warmed up to him, and then she would sit on the couch next to him and lay her head on his shoulder, on his lap, and and they really took to him. Eventually, we would take them out little small places, and then we would maybe go to his house and everything. So it was slow, but the kids, they really love him, and I never had any problems with them, or anything like that. They would tell him that when he would come visit, they would tell him he could stay overnight at our house. And he says, no, I can't do that because I don't have any clothes. And they would say, you can wear my daddy clothes. I'm like, I just thought that was really, really cute. We're like, no, he has to go home to his house. So they really enjoyed him and they enjoyed his company. I think that they built a very loving relationship that they have today. He takes them and he does things with them. I guess initially when they were kids, he would come over to the house and he would take them out. It was a park down the street, so he would take them and let them ride their bike in the park or whatever. Or he might go outside and play with them, play ball with them or something, just building a casual relationship with them. And they love him. They actually listen to him more than they listen to me. He can get their attention and he can say, hey, you're not treating your mom right. You shouldn't do that. And they'll listen to him. my oldest, April, she, even before we got engaged or anything, she's been calling him her stepdaddy. That's how she introduces him. She was like, I don't have time. It's too complicated saying that that's my mom's boyfriend. She was like, I just say he's my stepdad. So I'm like, okay. And they love him. They have a great relationship with him. And so we got engaged on a little getaway trip that him and I had, which was a surprise. And we text them and they were like happy. They were like, congratulations. And they're like, we want to be bridesmaids. I'm like, because I don't know, they're silly. They're like, we didn't get to be in your wedding. I'm like, of course not. You wasn't born yet. It was just me and your daddy. So they're like, their whole thing is they want to be in a wedding. Because I think because my nieces and my kids are the youngest with my husband's side of the family, because I'm an only child. So I'm still very close to my in-laws. So they were like, all my nieces and nephews, most of them were there when Paul and I got married. So they feel like when they see the video, they feel like they were left out. But I'm like, of course you were left out. We were just getting married. So you weren't even thought of then. That's been nice that they love him and have a great relationship with him. And one thing I wanted to mention that I just thought of. So when we got engaged, it was a surprise. Like we had talked about this and had a conversation, and I knew it would be coming. I just didn't know that he would be in the ring now. And I guess I'm not supposed to know, right? Although I told him he should have told me so I could have been more prepared. But it's supposed to, he got me, so it was a surprise. So he proposed to me. And on the inside of my ring, there are on the inside of the ring, the band part of it, there are two blue sapphires. One blue sapphire is for the man that loves me now, because he's a man of blue because that's his fraternity color. In college, he pledged a fraternity and he's still really active. So that's his fraternity thing. So that's for the man in blue that loves me now. The other blue sapphire is for the man that loved me that's not here, the thin blue line. So I thought that, wow, that was really awesome. What that tells me is that he really embraces and accepts my life. He accepts the love that I have for Paul. And it's kind of like, I feel like he actually kind of like brought Paul into our relationship. You know what I'm saying? That other sapphire represents Paul. But I'm wearing the ring that he gave me.
That's phenomenal. That is,
That
yeah, that is exactly how you put it. That is wow. Absolutely.
I have never talked to anyone, another survivor that has told me that. And he had this ring made up for me and everything. So he designed it. So I don't even know how he got to the point where he decided to have two blue sapphires, and he explained it to me, and I had tears in my eyes because I'm like, one sapphire is for the man in blue that loves you now, and one sapphire is for the man in blue that loved you that's not here. Who does that?
He understands you. I mean, obviously, right?
Yeah.
What would you tell somebody who's kind of on that fence, a survivor who's kind of on that fence about doing what you've done, right? And making that choice to
Mhm.
accept that.
I would tell the person to really take some time for you and let yourself go through your grief, but also work through things. Definitely don't try to jump over it or not deal with it, because in order to move forward in life, you have to work through your grief. You have to know that you deserve to be happy again. And it's okay if you don't want to date right now, wait until you're ready and take a chance at it again. I would say take a chance at it again. You have to work on yourself and you have to work through your grief. And once you work through your grief and you start accepting your life, I think that's when things start to fall in place. It's okay to love again. It's okay. You know, um, you're never going to have that relationship that you had with your husband. And that's not saying something bad, because you can't have that same relationship with that you had with your husband. You're going to have whatever relationship that you build with someone else. And that's the way it's supposed to be. I don't try to make things like it was with my husband, with my marriage before. I build on my relationship now with Charlie. We build our own relationship, and it's okay. And I would just tell someone else that it's okay. It's okay to love again. It's okay to be happy again. You're never going to forget your loved one that's deceased. You're never going to forget them. They're always going to be there with you. They're always going to be in your heart. They're always going to be a part of your life. But it's okay to move forward. I don't like to say move on, because moving on makes it seem like you're going to forget about them. And that's not it. I like to say moving forward. I'm going to move forward in life. I'm going to learn how to live again. And you just have to take baby steps at doing it. Maybe if you're on the fence, start out with just having a friend, a companionship, a friend that maybe someone you can talk to, and then maybe things will progress, or maybe you'll decide you're ready to take that leap of faith and jump in. Um, if you don't love again, I don't think that I don't think that you're really, if you don't let yourself love again, I don't think that you're letting yourself be happy again. It's okay if you really want to stay by yourself, it's okay. But the most important thing is to just work on yourself, work through your grief, understand that it's okay for you to be happy again, and just take a chance. Take a chance.
Well, hey, April, thank you so much for joining us. Thank
You're
you for
welcome.
being, vulnerable with us and really sharing your process of learning to love again to where you are now. And again, congratulations.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, again, that we had April Nauden, surviving spouse of Paul Nauden. Again, thank you.